What do you think about her testimony so far? To me, it's clear that the prosecutor who's involved, Mitchell, is trying to poke holes in her testimony, trying to find inconsistencies. But so far, and I'm asking you because I know that I have biases. So far, I have failed to see any holes in her testimony. I think that she's been pretty, not only credible, but I think she's been consistent in what she's been saying. Is there anything that Dr. Blasey Ford has said that stood out to you as a possible issue?
No, there wasn't anything up until kind of the end point where Mitchell had asked about kind of how you recall deep traumatic events. I think in part because we see Blasey Ford as having this PhD and being in psychology. So part of it's kind of like, well, shouldn't you know that if you really want to reach and access this point in your mind, that you're supposed to go through this process? But then, of course, as we noted, it screams back to the GOP. Well, why didn't you ask for these things? And also, why don't we give her more time to do this?
Exactly.
As this has now just come to the forefront. Something that I think is really interesting with Mitchell and her questioning, as I had mentioned on Twitter, is that I don't think that she was looking to get more information and more details about the actual events that happened, because that's what Brett Kavanaugh is going to focus on. And Brett Kavanaugh, since we all had Blasey Ford's opening statement, Kavanaugh's prepared for that.
Right.
He's prepared to refute those facts. If Mitchell were to ask Blasey Ford during this testimony about new things, he's not going to be prepared to refute them.
Oh, it's such a great point.
And so that is why Mitchell didn't touch that. She's talking about flight plans. God, she might as well have been going off on frequent flyer miles. That's why they're dancing around all this stuff as opposed to the events. It's because he's not prepared to tell a lie about those things. And if he's not prepared and if he's not going to tell the truth, he's got to have a lie prepared for it, and they're not ready for that, so they're not going to touch it.
That is such a great point. And one thing that I did notice was an attempt to make it seem as though her accusations are strictly politically motivated.
Yes.
And so there was this one exchange that I thought was incredible, and it was when Mitchell was consistently asking about the polygraph test, who funded it.
Yes, yes.
And she wouldn't just ask her the question. She was dancing around it, but she was trying to get to, hey, was this a politically funded lie detector test?
Yeah.
And I love that the lawyers for Dr. Blasey Ford, both of them jumped in and were like, let's cut to the chase. Okay, we told her to go do this lie detector test. And look, I understand the lack of credibility for lie detector tests. They're not 100% correct. But remember that this is not a criminal trial.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the results of that test are the end all be all. I don't think just because she passed that lie detector test, it means that the assault 100% did happen. But it's still one piece of evidence that should be considered. And Republicans don't seem willing to consider it. Earlier in the hearing, they did not want to even talk about it.
Yes.
They refused the chart that was prepared by Dr. Blasey Ford's attorneys. But either way, the fact that they do not want the FBI investigation, they refuse to get Mark Judge involved in the testimony, and the fact that they tried to omit the lie detector test results, and then later, Mitchell tried to make it seem as though it was a politically motivated thing that was funded by, Democrats. It gives you a sense of where the Senate Republicans are, or what their strategy is moving forward.
Yeah, and something that I kind of thought was a little interesting from my criminal justice background. It's like if she's sitting for this polygraph coming off the heels of her grandmother's funeral. So you're around all those negative emotions, and you're essentially are right there on the heels of that for the fact that you got to take it in this hotel conference room or whatever. How hard is it to tell a lie when you're already emotional? Like you can't necessarily, it adds an added layer of complication and your thought process is a little bit jumbled. So part of me is like the fact that you passed a polygraph when you're already under stressful conditions, as far as I was concerned, going down that line of questioning, I think she kind of, that's why Mitchell was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop there.
Yeah.
Because it just bolsters kind of just, as far as I'm concerned, the trustworthiness of her results in the polygraph.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.